Hello, thank you so much to come here in this rainy day. Reminds me of Moscow. 9 years ago, my family became desperately ill. I was dying from arrhythmia. Have you heard this word, arrhythmia? When the heart is beating irregularly, like boom, 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 boom. People who have arrhythmia usually die suddenly, having a heart attack. My father died from arrhythmia. So my doctor told me I will die any day. And I was carrying a little note in my purse. I had money aside, I had will prepared. According to my will, my family was supposed to, after my death, supposed to go back to Russia. My husband had such a bad arthritis that I had to lace his shoes. All of his joints were swollen, and he was in constant pain. He couldn't drive further than to the supermarket because his wrists were not moving. He also had 18 surgeries on his body, and his hyperthyroid was so bad that his face was red as a blood, and his eyes were always like surprised, and his hands were shaky, and when he was resting, his pulse was 170. It's like astronauts on the moon when they were landed. My daughter Valya was born with asthma, and she had asthmatic attack almost every night at around 12:30 since birth. She couldn't jump, she couldn't run, she couldn't blow in the harmonica, she couldn't play any wind instruments. My son Sergey was obese, and as if it was not enough, he was diagnosed with type 1 juvenile diabetes. I couldn't believe it. I refused to believe it. My grandmother died from diabetes, and she died from overdose of insulin. And I was afraid to put him on insulin because in my family there were lots of talks about my grandmother's passing away that you can never guess how much insulin to inject, and there's always a risk. And so I was frightened to put him on insulin. And this, my fear, saved my family. 2 weeks later, the doctor called me and she asked if I put him on insulin. And I said, not yet. She said, you have to. He will get into coma, and then you can lose him. I was procrastinating. I was afraid to put him on insulin. Meanwhile, I was doing research. I went to another doctor. I met several parents who have children with diabetes. I was trying to find any information I can. Everybody was saying the same thing. Diabetes is the only thing. Even Chinese doctor, even herbalists said, well, type 1 diabetes is incurable. My doctor called me again. I said I didn't put him on insulin. She said, we will report you to social services. We'll take a child away from you and take care for him for you. Then I studied to avoid picking up the phone. I look on the number. I got the phone with the number, and I would never pick up the phone when the doctor was calling. I felt like a criminal. Meanwhile, my son did get in coma. He went to the restroom, and then I heard boom. And I rushed in there, and I saw him laying across the floor. He looked like he was dead. It was very, very scary. And he was unconscious. He had coma. Oh, I didn't know what to do, but I didn't want to put him on insulin. I was afraid. I was thinking, if he survived until now without insulin, why there is a certain day when I'm supposed to make him trapped in that forever? But seek and you shall find. I'm a stubborn Russian woman, and I was looking for solution, and I was seeking and seeking and searching and searching, and one day the universe placed this woman in front of me. She was the only raw foodist in the whole state of Colorado in 1993. We checked it all over. It was the only one. She was staying in front of me in line in the bank. She was in her 60s, and she looked radiantly healthy. And I looked at her, and I asked her, do you know anything about curing diabetes naturally? Excuse me? And she shined at me back, sure. I said, why are you so sure? Oh, because I cured my colon cancer 15 years ago. And I said, but it's not the same. She said, oh, it's all the same. And I said, can I please buy you lunch so we could talk? She said, thank you so much, but I won't eat your food. And I said, can we talk? She said, I'll be glad to answer all your questions. And after we made our deposits, we went outside, we were sitting, and she told me about raw food. At first, I just couldn't get it. I was saying, well, I think I could live on ice cream and untoasted bread. That's okay with me. She said, you're not getting it, Victoria. You can never have bread because it's already cooked. You can never have ice cream for the rest of your life. I said, but Russians are born with the bread in the left hand. I said, she said, you can only have 4 things and they have to be raw. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And I said, Elizabeth, can anybody live on that and not die? She said, the birds do, the animals do, the snakes do, the insects do, and besides, you haven't been born with the cooking stove attached to your belly, did you? I said, well, it makes sense, but it sounds very scary because it makes sense. She gave me her phone number. She lended me a little book. I went home and I started to read this book. I read it once and twice and 3 times. The more I read it, it makes sense. And then my children became very nervous. And my husband became suspicious. And one day he came to me and he said, what is that you're reading all the time? What are you up to this time? And I said, oh, my dear, I would like to talk to you. I think that diet will really save our son, but I think he cannot do it by himself. We need to go together. So would you support us going on raw food as a family for a couple of weeks? And he became very angry with me. He said, what are you thinking? I work physically. He was a massage therapist. And he said, I cannot live on rabbit food. I need my Russian borscht with pork, and plus I love my culture. He said, if that would be so simple, don't you think doctors will figure this out a long time ago? And he said, that does make no sense. You think nobody would know? Anyways, I was very disappointed, but I knew that he's the man of my life. And I will find the word for him, correct words and correct time to explain why I believe that it is so important for our son. And that day came, 1994, January 21st, my husband woke up very, very ill, sicker than ever. His throat now was very swollen, and he couldn't talk, and he felt very uncomfortable. And I took him to the hospital, and I was praying that doctor will scare him to death. And doctor did a good job. And he told him, Mr. Boutenko, we need to perform surgery on you as soon as possible because your thyroid is 6 times bigger than it's supposed to be. And you cannot live with that. It's wasted. We have to put you on hormone therapy. And my husband said, I already have 18 surgeries and none of them did me good. In fact, each one of them hurt me. So I decided I'm never going to have another surgery. And the doctor said, no, this one you have to. Igor said, what will happen if I won't? He said, you will die. Igor said, how soon will I die? I said, in less than 2 months. Igor said, no, I don't want surgery, I'll go on raw food. And the doctor said, you cannot eat raw food when you have hyperthyroid. You actually have to eat everything thoroughly cooked, plus you have to eat lots of butter, lots of protein, lots of animal protein. And so with these words we left. In the car, Igor said, okay, but only for 2 weeks. I am a Russian woman, and I know that if Russian man says that, that may be the only chance in all times, in a lifetime. So when he left to his work, I started to take action. I went in the kitchen and I threw away a coffee maker, pasta maker, ice cream maker, and toast maker. And then I had this big, huge commercial NSF-approved microwave. In Russia, they don't allow microwaves because they're so harmful. And so when we came to America, we bought the big one. And so I was thinking, I'll hide it in the garage. So my family doesn't know where is it. But I knew that I will be the first one who will take it when I'll become hungry. And so I was thinking, my son's health on one hand, microwave on the other. And then I closed my eyes and cracked it with a hammer. I was very decideful. I thought that's only one chance in my lifetime. And then I took double bag, garbage bag, and I was cleaning everything, pasta, spaghetti, macaroni, beans, and rice, and whipped cream, and 2-year-old sauces from Burger King, whatever I had in my shelves. And then my kitchen was so clean. And then I turned off the pilot on my stove and covered my stove with a thick cutting board, and I went shopping. And at that time, we didn't like any veggies. We only ate fruits, and we knew 3 fruits: Washington delicious apples, navel oranges, and bananas. So I stuffed our upright fridge, huge one, with all these 3. And when my family came from school, from work, and they said, "So what's for lunch today?" I said, "In the fridge." Children refused to eat bananas. Igor bit the banana. He said, "I'm not that hungry yet." So this night we went to bed hungry. Usually my family will have a big supper according to Russian tradition, and then we will feel really heavy and sleepy and we go to bed. This night we could not fall asleep. I was not sleeping myself. I was pretending I was asleep, and I heard in the middle of the night somebody's walking in the kitchen, opening all the drawers, then coming out, going to bed. Somebody else coming in, opening all the drawers, and then going away. Somebody else coming. Seemed like we had 12 people coming in and out the kitchen. Maybe we had 1 or 2 hours of sleep that night. In the morning, we all get in the kitchen, and we were eating apples now, and bananas and oranges, and we were talking, and somehow we were excited. Coincidentally, this night, Valya did not choke from asthma. Sergei's blood sugar was not as high, and Igor didn't feel that bad, despite he only slept a couple hours, and I felt okay too. Maybe we were just excited, I don't know. So Igor pronounced, "We keep going. We throw away everything anyway, so let's keep going." My dear, dear friends, in 2 weeks, my son came to me. He was 9 then. He came to me and said, "Mom, why do I have to poke my finger with this blood sugar monitor every 3 hours if it always shows 75 to 125, which is normal frame?" I said, "Okay, darling, just do it once in the morning." Coincidentally, my daughter still didn't have asthma even 1 time in 2 weeks. Igor's pulse went from 170 down to 140 in 2 weeks, and I lost 15 pounds. Well, I didn't tell you that I was very, very obese. I was 280 pounds. In fact, you absolutely have to see my picture, because I want you to realize how cute I am today. So if you look at my picture, let me send it around here, and you quickly, okay, can you take it? I was very, very obese, and I could never lose even an ounce. I'll drink this horrible, what's it called, Nutrisystem juices, or this all kinds of drinks that are so nasty tasted. I didn't like them. I would get rash, and I wouldn't lose. I would gain weight from them. And now I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I was so happy. And then after 2 weeks, Igor said, "Well, let's keep going." In 2 months, Sergei sold his blood monitor to his math teacher for $5. He didn't check his blood sugar anymore. It was stably in the normal frame. Valya still didn't have her asthma attack. In 2 months, I lost 50 pounds. Igor felt so much better. We had so much energy. We never had so much energy in our life. I started to run. Whenever I parked my car and go to the supermarket, I couldn't walk anymore. I had to run. And I was still a big lady, so whenever I run, and I still was wearing high heels because I was trying to look better than I was, because I had such an ugly body. I was 280 pounds. And when I would run, everybody would stop and look, what's going on? Is there shoplifting or what? Why are ladies running? And then in between aisles, I would run. We still had so much energy that we didn't know what to do with this energy. So we went to the big sporting goods store and bought for our family a big trampoline. And as a family, we were jumping there 1 or 2 hours every day just to get rid of this extra energy. Wow! Still, we had lots of energy. And then somebody told us, "Why don't you take part in a race?" And I said, "What is race?" They say every Sunday they have a race. And it's fun. There are lots of people there. So the first one was Pear Blossom Race in support of some cancer research. And we went, and you know what? Because there was nobody in our weight category, in our age category, all four of us won the medal. And a free cotton T-shirt with this, you know, certain nice message on it. And so our children were so thrilled by that. They said, Mom, can we go every Sunday? From now on, every Sunday we were racing 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K, and finally we were talking again, and we were thinking, maybe it's just our imagination, maybe we don't feel better, maybe it's just our exaggerated imagination, maybe we're not healthy yet, because it's all incurable illnesses, maybe just temporary relief, maybe we'll get sick any moment. Let's do something that will prove to ourselves that we're really healthy. And so we decided to run 10K race called Boulder Boulder on the Memorial Day. And so we did. I haven't, in this Raw Family book, I have a picture of all four of us with the numbers. When we ran 10K, we were sure we really feel really healthy. Only healthy people could run 10K. Next morning, I called my doctor and said, you know what? I ran 10-kilometer race yesterday. I feel so good. I eat raw food. She talked to me as if I have Alzheimer's. She said, Victoria, come see me tomorrow as soon as possible. You can die. Victoria, do you hear me? You cannot run. You cannot eat raw food. It's very dangerous. Come see me. She scared me so much that I decided never call her anymore. In fact, that day I canceled. It was May 2094 when I canceled our family medical insurance because I felt that our health is in my hands. Now, what would you do if you've been in the same situation? If you had something that you've been spending $2,000 to $4,000 a month for medical bills and suddenly you don't feel it anymore and everybody around you still have it, how would you feel? How would you feel? Can you talk to me? Talk to me. We just have a dialogue here. What would you do?
I would do what you do.
You would share with others.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I decided. And because people would stop me on the streets, my neighbors will stop me and say, Victoria, you look terrific. What are you doing? Can you tell me? I say, raw food. They say, tell me how you do that. So very soon I had 12 people, 12 neighbors in my house, and I was teaching them about raw food. They loved the information. They said, we should be raw. But nobody lasted till even morning. In the morning, they all had their coffee and bagel with cream cheese. Well, I thought I'm not a good teacher yet. I read some more, and I studied some more, and then I did another class. And I did the same thing, and people really loved my class, but nobody lasted till next morning. Next day, I met them on the street, hiding the muffins behind the back, saying, hi, Victoria. Well, at this point, I was so enthusiastic that I closed my 6 successful businesses that I had. And I decided, I announced, I'm going to make my living by teaching raw food now. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I want to be a teacher, emissary, missionary, teaching raw food, because that changed my life. Everybody were telling me, you're crazy. You can never make a living on that. Oh, my dear, dear friends, I was teaching about raw food, but nobody went raw. Usually I would teach the class and I write everybody's name and phone number. And I would wait 30 days and I call everybody. And from my research, less than 2% were still raw after 1 month. And after Christmas, there was 0. So several times I thought I'll quit, but then I have so much compassion in my heart that I would keep going, seeing all these people suffering and children suffering. I'm a stubborn Russian woman. And for 6 long years, I was doing this work. I tried to create all kinds of tricks, and nothing worked. Well, less than 2%, and until Christmas, until Thanksgiving, and then it will be 0. And then, 3.5 years ago, my friend invited me to AA group meeting. And I told him what I have to do with AA group. I don't even want to go. I've seen enough drunken people in Russia. He said, in Russia, there are 92% of population, of male population, are chronic alcoholics. And so I don't want to go to any AA meeting. He said, Victoria, you don't understand because you're saying that, come with me. So he dragged me and my husband to AA meeting. And there, I was very, very moved and touched. These people were just like us, very beautiful. It was a spiritual meeting, and people were very sincere, and they were speaking in front of strangers so honestly. I was very, very impressed. But the most thing that struck me at this AA meeting was that they were saying word in word what I heard so many times. They were saying that if somebody will make it for me, if somebody will if I could stay just in the house and not go anywhere, I could make it. And then it hit me suddenly, cooked food is an addiction. I rushed to Ashland Library after that, and I asked librarian, do you have any books on addiction? Because I never read anything on addiction. She said, the whole this big section is written about addiction. And I said, how many books can I take? And she said, 38 books in Ashland. And I checked out 38 books on addiction and was carrying them to my van. And librarians were looking at me like, well, she has a big problem. And I was reading these books, and I enjoyed them. Do you even know that all the books on addiction were not written by any professionals, by any medical doctors, by any scientists? They're all written by the worst former addicts. And all of these books are sincere letter from the heart written to other people. I really learned a lot. And then I realized more and more, yes, that cooked food is a very, very bad addiction. Can you go to Russia and get all alcoholics on the Red Square and say, hey guys, here is carrot juice. It's so much cheaper than vodka, and it has so much keratin, and it's so good for you. So you just didn't know that, but now you know, and so tomorrow you start drinking carrot juice and forget about vodka. And do you think they will really switch in one day, all of them? Less than 2% will switch. So what I was doing for 6 years, I was wasting my time and people's time, because people cannot go on raw food without a certain therapy. So I have created this therapy. It took me 3 months, every day working, and then I called it 12 Steps to Raw Food. And my first class, I was teaching in Portland, Oregon. I had 45 people. We did it Saturday all day, Sunday all day. And then I waited 30 days, and I called everybody. I was sure that will be more than 2%. I was praying for 30%. What do you think? I had 100% of people still on raw food. All 45 of them were 100% raw, and they loved to hear from me. They said, oh, Victoria, this is you. I was so blessed. I felt I'm so lucky. I discovered something that we were looking for a long time. And then I canceled all my regular classes, and since then, for 3 years, I've been teaching very successfully 12 steps to raw food, and I'm doing research. And that's what I found out so far. The cooked food is addictive on 4 levels: chemical, biological, mental, and spiritual. Chemical. Are you listening now attentively? It's not too late to run away. Okay. Chemical. All carbohydrates, after they hit it, turn chemically into sucrose, white sugar. White sugar is one of the most addictive substances in the world. The chemical molecule of white sugar is very similar to chemical molecule of cocaine. When people get off cooked carbohydrates, their personality changes a lot. They become so calm and smiley and lovable, and they even go through the same twitches that people when they quit taking cocaine. That is why the cooked carbohydrates are the basis of all international cuisines. Mexicans eat tortillas, Italians eat pizza, pasta, Americans eat potato, Russians eat bread, Armenians eat lavash. I don't know what Canadians eat. But it's always cooked carbohydrates. Speaking about white sugar, have you ever had just one little candy and felt enough? Really, honestly. Wouldn't you go and look for another one? Okay, this is just white sugar. Plus, we have caffeine, we have chocolate, we have MSG, we have aspartame, we have all of these excitotoxins and preservatives and colorants and enhancers of the flavor. Almost 2,000 different things that are addictive. So that's chemical level. Biological level. When we are born, we are programmed to be raw fooders. We never request our mothers to steam their breast milk. We like it raw. We are programmed to be raw fooders. However, when we're 6 months old, the doctor tells mother, he says, now you need to introduce cooked food to your baby. And the nature, the body is telling us, oh, be aware, SOS. Whenever your mother put you on this high chair with a new bib and the father is taking picture, and the first spoon is getting to your mouth, as soon as it touches your lips, what do? Remember? That's what all babies do. They say, my body says, no, please don't. Well, then the mother says, hey, put down your camera, and she does this. Remember? And then when they do this, you do this. Always. And they try it again and again. Now the new bib is all dirty, and the mother says, oh, I'm so tired, I don't even know if anything got in his mouth. And then the next thing happens is very quick and smelly diarrhea. The body says, hey, ouch, quick, out of the body. But because this substance is addictive, it takes 3 times, and the baby gets used to it and begins to like it and opens the mouth and even prefers it to mother's breast sometimes and going with the bottle everywhere as long as it's sweet. And now we're programmed to be cooked food eaters. According to Dr. Alexander Zalmanov in his book, Sacred Wisdom of Human Body, he says, when the body is programmed to be cooked food eater, 2 gallons of digestive juices per day are pumped into the system. When the body is programmed to be raw food eater, only 1 cup per day. 2 gallons if you eat only cooked food, 1 cup, 15 times less if you eat only raw food. Do you see the difference? So that means if you eat 3 cooked meals a day, your body produces 700 milligrams of saliva, 750 milligrams of pancreatic juice, 3 liters of stomach juice, and 3.5 liters of intestinal juice. Altogether, 2 gallons per day. If you take your ear and at 12:30 go around and put your ear to everybody's belly, what would you hear? Honestly, what would you hear? Growling. That's so juice is pumping. When the juices, whenever you see, smell, or taste, or see description of the cooked food that you love, your body begins to pump those juices. That doesn't matter if you already ate or not. The body is getting ready. When you have those juices in there, this is very uncomfortable feeling. You feel tension, you feel lightheadedness, weakness, irritability, even depression. You feel headache could be, and hunger pains, withdrawal symptoms. The only thing that's going to give you relief is cooked food. And you will absolutely, you say, I'm hungry, I'm starved, I want to eat something. When people eat only raw food, that never happens. They could easily move the time of lunch 2-3 hours, even miss it completely, and they don't even feel any discomfort. Is anybody here already aware of that? Anybody? Yes, that I'm not making it up. Thank you. So when we put our first cooked meal in our mouth, we say, oh, this is so good, to die for. We have created this saying, to die for, about cooked food, and it's in all languages. My book, 12 Steps to Raw Food, has been translated into 12 languages, French included. 12 languages, including Chinese language. And in all languages, there was no problem to find the equivalent to die for. We don't say this about the expensive car or house or even boyfriend. I never heard anybody say, hey, this boyfriend is to die for. But about the quarter pound of food, we say, oh, this lasagna, oh, is to die for. And we acknowledge, we say, killer pizza. And then we say, death from chocolate cake. Have you heard this one? Death from, we sarcastically call it its true name. And it does kill people because statistically, people who eat only raw food never die from either cancer or heart attack. Those 2 main reasons for death in these days. In fact, those who do have cancer or suffer heart attack, if they instantly go on 100% raw food, statistically, their symptoms go away. So That is the biological level of addiction to cooked food. When you're looking at your favorite burrito or your favorite meal and chocolate and you're salivating, can you, I forgot your name. Erica, can you, Erica, demand from your body, hey, stop salivating. I'm not going to eat this. Will your body listen to you?
Not really.
No, your body will continue to salivate. And so that's why I am Victoria Boutenko, claiming here after a long time research that you cannot go on raw food by the willpower. Nobody could do it by the willpower because eventually you'll fail because cooked food is addictive. You cannot do it by the willpower. You could become excited from my class or from David Wolf's class or somebody else's class and stay for 2 weeks or even 2 months, but then will be Christmas. And then halt will happen, hungry or angry or lonely or depressed. When you experience one of those emotions, your energy goes low and you'll be saying, what the heck, it's just a food. So everybody's eating it. I'm innocent, it's okay. Interesting, right? Well, and then the next level is emotional level of addiction to cooked food. Whenever we experience stress, have you ever experienced stress here in Canada? Like once a year? Whenever we experience stress, we were trained, educated to eat something because eating makes us sleepy, foggy. Eating cooked food, eating cucumbers doesn't help. We need to eat something we call comforting. We don't call corn chips nutritious, we call them comforting. We don't call popcorn nutritious, we say comforting. It's not that we're popcornium deficient. It's we want something to comfort. When baby's crying, we say, give him a lollipop. When somebody is feeling sad, we say, let me take you out. Let's have some ice cream. Let's make your life sweeter by eating chocolate. So we don't know how to cope with our emotions, be it positive or negative, without eating something. And if you left alone with your emotions and you don't have anything to eat, that will be very uncomfortable, very unpleasant. That actually would lead us to some discoveries, some spiritual discoveries, but we don't do that. We eat instead. So that's emotional level, and it's very, very hard. But the hardest of all is the level that's called spiritual level of addiction to cooked food. My dear friends, we are all human beings. We are all spiritual beings. As spiritual beings, we are all special. Don't you all feel special? Honestly, maybe some of you have been brainwashed that you're not really important, but deep inside, honestly, if you look at yourself, do you feel special? You feel special because you have a special spiritual mission in your life. And when we don't follow the spiritual mission, well, spiritual mission, talking about spiritual mission, what would you like to be written on your grave when you die? She had a good credit history. That looks like that's what we really care. But if we don't follow a spiritual mission, we begin to develop spiritual pain. What is spiritual pain? When everything seems fine, you have an apartment, you have a job, you have something to eat, you have something to put on. Why are you not overly joyous? Why are you not so happy? Do you know what I'm talking about? Anybody? Do you know what I'm talking about? When there is no reason for you to be sad, you actually watch a nice program on TV, but you feel kind of empty, like something is not happening. Oh, when I lived in Russia, I thought that I'm not happy completely because I cannot have enough good food. I thought when I'll immigrate to the United States and I can eat as much cheese and sausage as I want, then I'll feel happy. But when I immigrated and ate as much as I want, I actually felt worse. We begin to experience this spiritual pain more and more as we get older. And so that's why all 12-step programs are spiritual programs. That's why the last 4 steps of 12 steps to raw food are spiritual steps. And so that's what I figured out. That's very shortly, very briefly. I have to squeeze it. So what do we do in our 12 steps program? We help you to reprogram your behavior. So first, we help people to get out of denial, because this is the hardest case of denial, because nobody has put every single baby at 6 months old on alcohol or cocaine or anything else. But every single person in the world very early put on cooked food. And so because we're all on it, it's hard for us to acknowledge that, wow, that's really an addiction. So because it's the hardest thing to do, I have had to come with so many tricky questions and all kinds of questionnaires. I ask people, do you ever overeat? Have you ever overeaten? Can you answer this question? Have you ever overeaten in your life? Just once? Maybe once a year? Do you like to overeat? Do you feel good when you overeat? Would you like to overeat again and again? No? Do you think you'll never overeat again? No. See? See, there is something there. You don't want this to happen, but you know that it will happen to you because you cannot really handle it. It's beyond your control. I'm sorry, I don't mean to hurt your feeling. I'm just trying to demonstrate to you something that's happening. And so when I spend usually 2 hours during my weekend, 12 steps raw food class, to explain in details, to really make it clear to every single student that really I cannot manage my eating habits. Whatever my body is taking over, and I just say, well, it's okay. I just rationalize something. Well, I'll just eat this time, and then after this, I'll never do this again. That's what our brain is rationalizing. And then as a second step of 12 steps raw food, we say, then, okay, if I cannot handle it by myself, I need some help from outside. I need a sponsor. Then I need a sponsor. So the second step is you should get a sponsor. So how do you find a sponsor? You open your yellow pages, and you find Cooked Food Anonymous there. And you call them and say, I need a sponsor, right? But there is no such organization in the world. So what do? In the same classroom, we divide into pairs, and we say, hey, Lorena, would you like me and you to be sponsors? I'll be your sponsor, you be my sponsor. And then we make you to write on a card, like a business card, 3 main reasons why you want to be raw. And then people write, well, I have fibromyalgia, I weigh 280 pounds, I don't want my children to take care of me. Or whatever, they want to have more energy. And then we say, and on the other side, you write the cell phone of your sponsor, and you carry it with you in your purse all the time. And then we say, for 2 months, you have to stay 100% raw. 2 months is the magic marker. After 2 months, your body transforms, and you, instead of 2 gallons of juices, your body will only secrete 1 cup of juices per day, which is so small. Finally, you'll be able to sit at the same table with your family member who will be eating cooked meal, very attractive, and you will not salivate. Amazing. This is when everybody makes a mistake. If somebody reaches that point, then they say, hooray, now I can control myself, so I can eat cooked food now. Again, as soon as a tiny piece of cooked food touches your tongue, you reinforce back the memory in your cells, and you reprogram your back to cooked food, and this begins to pump, and then you cannot handle it. So why do we have a sponsor then? With sponsor, whenever I just have a wish, I enter a teacher's room and it smells like popcorn, and I want to eat popcorn. So I have to call my sponsor and say, hey, Lorena, I just entered the room that smells so delicious. I think I'm going to eat some. And what she says, she will say, can you take out your card, please? And I read it to me aloud. Oh, I have 280 pounds. I don't want my children to take care of me. She says, isn't this still important to you? I say, oh, yes, that's okay. She says, so what do you put? And she says, what can you do instead? She asked me, what could you do instead? And I say, well, I think I'll go for a walk. Maybe I'll go buy myself a flower. Maybe I'll go buy a juice in the juice bar, smoothie. And then I say, thank you, Lorena. And then she calls me when she needs help. And 2 months, after 2 months, we over the hump. So that's what it is. I believe that people come into my classes for serious reasons. Like I came to raw food 9 years ago for serious reason. And for 9 years, I've been 100% raw. And I don't have any of those problems. In fact, my family, we hiked from Mexican border to Canadian border on feet to prove to ourselves that we're really very, very healthy now. And so that's what we do with our program. And I dream that sometime I'll be able to come to Toronto and teach here Saturday and Sunday, 12 steps to raw food, because I already taught it 3 times in British Columbia and 3 times in Montreal, but never in Toronto yet. And so if you want to contact me anytime by my email, and it's just a matter of us driving through and coming and doing that. Well, I understand that it's very radical and shocking information, but if you go home and think about this and talk about this, you will really see that it's true. You'll see that it's so. And as you can see, I don't spend time anymore telling you why raw food is good, because I understand you could go outside and stop any child, and if you ask the child, what is healthy? The child will tell, fruits and veggies. So we all know what's good. It's just, as my husband says, he says, it's easy to be on raw food. What is hard is not to eat cooked food. Do you see the difference? It's easy to eat banana or cucumber. It's hard not to eat when your body's demanding that. It's like agony. It's like torture, to die for. So, well, let me briefly take a moment and tell you why raw food is good. If I take here 2 almond seeds, one is raw and one is roasted, and I take these 2 almond seeds to the scientist with very sophisticated equipment, and I ask, Mr. Scientist, what is the difference between these 2 seeds, roasted and raw? The scientist will chop them in little pieces, look in the microscope, and then he'll report back to me, Mrs. Boutenko, they're absolutely the same. I don't see no difference. They both have the same amount of calcium, potassium, iron, copper, and magnesium. I say, thank you. And then I take these 2 almond seeds, one is roasted, one is raw, and put them in the soil. The one that's roasted will rot very quickly, a few days. The one that's raw will stay untouched until there will be plenty of water, sometimes several years. And then it will give birth to a beautiful almond tree that will live for 150 years, giving almonds every fall. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? Please tell me. You see. If you don't, then from now on, always roast your seeds before planting them in your backyard. So I believe that science cannot see in the microscope something that's called life. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. For example, you cannot see the waves that connect your cell phone with the tower. Can you see them with your eyes? No, but you pay $50 every month for them, for something you cannot see. Why? Because it works. So does raw food. It works. And everybody who goes on raw food and stays even for 2 weeks, they see such a tremendous difference that hard to describe. It's like day and night. And I absolutely have to tell you about children. When children go on raw food, they simply turn into angels and wizards and your best friends. When I put my children on raw food, this is my 2 children here. When I put them on raw food, I was just hoping that they will just get healthier. However, the change was so dramatic. First of all, Valia was in the 3rd grade. Sergey was in the 4th. They did so poorly at school. Valia was supposed to be held back. Her nose was always stuffed because of her allergies. And her spelling was horrible. She barely could read. Sergey was constantly playing. He couldn't concentrate. He had ADD. He was having from teacher notes. Within several weeks, they started to comment something like, well, teacher's actually very nice. School is very interesting. And they started to enjoy doing homework. By the end of that school year, and they only went on raw food 21st of January, okay, by the end of school year, the principal invited me and Igor to the school, and in front of all teachers and all parents and all students gave a special parental award pronouncing Sergey and Valia best student of Hallett Elementary School. What a change. I was trying to explain to him that I only changed the diet. He didn't understand that. Next year, my children did 2 grades in 1 year. Then later they said, we don't want to go to school anymore. It sounds like a prison. By then, they were reading 1 book per day, not only fiction, but chemistry, astronomy, physics. They started to learn 2 languages, French and Spanish, and actually Russian and English, so 4 actually, right? And they started to play 2 different instruments. Valya is playing 2 blowing instruments, harmonica and flute. They started to be so active and proactive in all kinds of changing the globe to be a better place. Now they're 16 and 18. They both go to Southern Oregon University, and they're fully admitted sophomores. In 1 year, they will be 17 and 19, and they'll have Bachelor of Art degree. Isn't it amazing? I was thinking this is just my children. But then last year, they started to search through internet if there are any other raw teens. And they found 18 raw teens in the United States in different places. Like one girl, she had stroke at the age of 14, and her parents still eat mashed potato and steak, but they placed her on raw food. She got well, and she's in her family, alone, raw. So they invited all these 18 teens to our house in Ashland and took them for 5 days in the woods in Oregon. First, I was scared. Imagine, I'm from Russia, and 18 American teenagers coming, and I'm going to be responsible. I said, Igor, I'm so scared. They're going to do some bad things. But they were raw teens, and they were so different. They would put up the tent. They will put up the backpack. Each one of them speaks extra language. None of them even tried drugs in their life. And they were so smiley and so lovable kids. They were sitting around the campfire talking all the time, how to change the world to be a better place. And I believe that their generation could make a difference. It was a wonderful experience. They found each other. They became the best friends. And when Sergey and I wrote this book, and Sergey have written here, that I really think that raw girls are much cooler to hang around with. The girls in Ashland, where we live now, they try to be raw. Anyways, if you have children, that's something very good you could do for them. And I could tell you more and more about kids, but this is a recipe book, and it has a note, how to help your children to go on raw food without resistance. We all teach all of these things in our classes. And tomorrow, I will be teaching how to make a raw wedding cake. Let me show you the picture of wedding cake. Here in this expo at 12 o'clock. I don't know which room, though. 12:05. Okay, this is a wedding cake. And I'm going to show how to make it raw. Raw food is absolutely delicious. If you want to try raw food, we will be having a class in Lorena's place on 14th of April, and on your place, well,
Next Monday.
Next Monday, okay. Yeah. Okay, this is Sonia, and she has information. On Monday, we'll have class in Toronto and in London on the 14th of April. And this booth 717, when you will be signing people. And can you also be there at 717 to sign if you, that's the only 2 opportunities we will be having. We will be for 15, or I don't know, for very little money. We'll be serving dinner, and I will be giving information. If you know anybody who will benefit from this information, we don't sell any products, we don't take any supplements. It's all very simple, and it's very usable information. And our message is you don't have to be sick. There is alternative way. Well, how are we doing on time?
You've got about 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Well, okay, we brought with us books, and we're selling them. It's our gift to you. We're selling them for 15 Canadian dollars. And all 3 books will be available at the main expo book, you know, chalk books in the middle. And I'll be there glad to sign them for you. Well, do you like this information? I want to know. Okay. Because you should also understand how I feel. It's a different country, and I'm nervous, and I don't know, maybe people will throw tomatoes in me, thinking, what are you talking about? I don't want to convict anybody. I'm just sharing with you something that works. Yes?
What do you say about food combining when when you're on all raw food.
What do you say about food combining? When you go on raw food, you go through different stages. And first you go on the stage 1. When you just stay in the frame of raw food, people who have degenerative disease like cancer, they have to do combining from the very beginning. I don't know, unfortunately. But average person who just wants to improve, they just stay in that raw frame, and they could do any combining, and they could overeat raw food, because when they will reach stage 2, which usually takes about a year, then their body will lead them. In my classes, I teach you how to listen to your body and how to figure out what do you need to eat. Do you need to eat endive or arugula or durian, or what do you need to eat? I teach that in my classes. I just don't have time. Maybe I'll squeeze a little time tomorrow. You have to worry eventually, because in the beginning you'll be eating what's called gourmet raw food, which is mimicking of cooked food. We call it un-pizza, un-burrito, un-chocolate cake. It's all raw, but it tastes like cooked food, even better, and looks that. But then after 1 year, you will all find out that your taste buds, you will have 220 taste buds more. They will recover, and you will prefer to eat just a cucumber and just avocado than the gourmet on-chocolate pizza, on-chocolate cake. How many of you experienced that? Here, look. Some people already went through that, stage 2. And then several years later, maybe 7 years later, there will be stage 3, when people will stop eating nuts and seeds and oil. And I don't want to scare you, because that's many years away, and it happens gradually when you begin to kind of dislike. But I don't know, there may be stage 4 and 5, I don't know. We don't have enough people there. I only know 5 people on stage 3. And it's interesting, and it's exciting, and these people don't lose weight, and they look terrific. Like my children, they look very healthy.
Just eat fruits and vegetables?
They just eat fruits, vegetables, sprouted seeds, yeah, and they don't eat no nuts, and they eat only whole foods. When you restore your hydrochloric acid, when it's supposed to be, then you can really digest the fiber without blending it. And so that's something that is so unresearched. I don't want to scare anybody. You sound like you're advanced researcher here, but I just wanted to give general information, and it's beautiful path. It's beautiful. I know so much. Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, your time is
Yes, my time is out. Thank you. Thank you for being so warm and welcoming. It is so easy to love you as an audience. Thank you. Hello, thank you so much to come here in this rainy day.